I used to think unconditional love meant something, that it was real, that no matter what happened, family would always have your back. I was wrong. My name is Claire, and for most of my life I was invisible. Not literally, of course, but in my family, I might as well have been a ghost. My older sister Vanessa was the star, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. She was beautiful, charismatic, married to a successful lawyer named Todd. They had 2 kids, a boy and a girl, both under 10. Perfect little family, right? Meanwhile, there was me, single, no kids, working as a veterinary technician at a local clinic. I loved my job, loved the animals, loved the quiet routine of it all. But to my family, I was just there. The backup plan. The one they called when they needed something but never thought about otherwise. You think a kid forgets that? I remember being 12 years old, sitting in the audience at Vanessa's high school graduation. My parents stood up, cheering so loud people turned to stare. Dad had tears in his eyes. Mom was beaming. After the ceremony, they took us all out to this fancy steakhouse. Vanessa got a diamond bracelet as a graduation gift. When I graduated 6 years later, we went to Applebee's. I got a card with $50 in it. That's when I learned my place in the family hierarchy. But it wasn't just graduations. It was everything. When Vanessa got engaged, my parents threw her an elaborate engagement party at the country club. Ice sculptures, live band, 200 guests. When I mentioned once that I was seeing someone, Mom said, "That's nice, dear," and changed the subject back to Vanessa's wedding plans. When Vanessa had her first baby, Mom took 3 months off work to help. She was there every day, cooking meals, doing laundry, watching the baby while Vanessa napped. When I adopted my first cat a few years later and mentioned I was struggling with the adjustment, Mom laughed and said, "It's just a cat, Claire. You'll figure it out." I always figured it out, because that's what I did. I was the dependable one, the one who didn't make waves, the one who showed up to every family dinner, every birthday party, every holiday gathering, and sat quietly while everyone fawned over Vanessa and her perfect life. I thought if I just kept being good, kept being helpful, kept being present, maybe one day they'd see me. They never did. Fast forward to last year. I'd been saving for ages, living in a tiny studio apartment with paper-thin walls and a radiator that only worked when it felt like it. Every paycheck, I put aside what I could. I didn't go on vacations. I didn't buy new clothes. I clipped coupons, bought generic brands, said no to dinners out with coworkers. For 5 years, I saved. My coworkers thought I was crazy. "You're missing out on your 20s, they'd say. "Go to that concert, take that trip, buy those shoes." But I had a goal, a dream. I wanted something that was mine, really mine. And finally, I did it. I bought a house. Nothing fancy. A small 3-bedroom cottage on the edge of town, with a fenced backyard and a porch I'd dreamed about sitting on with my morning coffee. It needed work, sure. The kitchen cabinets were outdated, the bathroom tile was cracked, the hardwood floors were scratched and dull, but it had good bones. And it was mine. All mine. I was so proud the day I got the keys. I stood in the empty living room, sunlight streaming through the windows, and I cried happy tears, relieved tears, tears that said, "You did it. You actually did it." I called my parents, excited to share the news. "Oh, that's nice, honey," Mom said, distracted. I could hear Vanessa's kids screaming in the background. "Listen, I have to go. Vanessa needs help with the twins' science project." Dad didn't even pick up. He texted back 3 hours later. "Congrats." But I didn't let it ruin my joy. I moved in, spent weekends painting walls, pulling up old carpet, planting flowers in the front yard. I watched YouTube tutorials on how to refinish furniture, how to install cabinet hardware, how to patch drywall. I made that house a home. My coworker Jessica came over one Saturday to help me paint the bedroom. We were covered in sage green paint, laughing, drinking cheap wine when she said, "You know, I've never seen you this happy." She was right. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was building something that mattered, something that was just for me. 3 months later, everything fell apart. It was a Saturday morning. I was in my backyard pulling weeds from the garden bed I'd just installed when I heard a truck pull up in my driveway. I stood up, brushing dirt off my knees, confused. I wasn't expecting anyone. Then I heard voices. Multiple voices. I walked around to the front of the house and froze. There was a moving truck in my driveway, a big one. And standing on my porch were my mom, Vanessa, Todd, and their 2 kids. The movers were already unloading boxes. My heart started pounding. What's going on? I asked, my voice shaking. Mom turned to me with that smile, the one she used when she was about to ask me for something. Oh, Claire, perfect timing. We were just about to call you. Call me? Why are there movers at my house? Vanessa stepped forward, arms crossed, chin tilted up in that way she always did when she wanted something. We're moving in. I blinked. Excuse me? Just temporarily, Todd added quickly, though he didn't look me in the eye. Our lease is up, and we're between places right now. Your mom suggested we stay here until we find something. You don't need the whole house, Mom said, her voice taking on that soothing tone, like she was calming down a toddler throwing a tantrum. You're just one person, Claire. Vanessa has a family, kids. They need space to run around, play in a real backyard. You should be grateful you even have this place now. I stared at her. Grateful? Yes, she said firmly. You wouldn't have been able to afford this without your job, and you only got that job because of the reference I gave you. So really, this house is partly thanks to me. That wasn't even true. The reference she gave me was for a completely different clinic, and I'd gotten my current job on my own merit 3 years later. But she'd rewritten history in her head, the way she always did. Mom, I said slowly, trying to keep my voice steady. This is my house. I bought it. With my money. You can't just move Vanessa in without asking me. Vanessa scoffed. Oh, come on, Claire, don't be dramatic. It's not forever. Just a few months. A few months? Maybe 6, Todd muttered. 6 months. They wanted to live in my house for 6 months. The house I'd worked 5 years to afford. The house I'd poured my heart into fixing up. Should we keep unloading? One of the movers called out, holding a box labeled kitchen. Yes, Mom called back before I could say anything. I watched as they carried box after box up to my porch. Vanessa's kids were already running around my yard, the boy pulling flowers out of my freshly planted garden bed. Hey, I called out. Stop that. Vanessa rolled her eyes. They're just playing, Claire. Relax. I clenched my fists. No, absolutely not. You need to leave. Right now. The air shifted. Mom's smile disappeared. Vanessa's eyes widened in mock surprise. Are you serious right now? You're going to kick out your own family? You're not family if you don't respect me, I said, my voice rising. I said no. Mom's face hardened. Claire Elizabeth, you are being incredibly selfish. Your sister needs this. Her children need this. What kind of person are you? The kind who worked her ass off for 5 years to buy this house, I shouted. I saved every penny while you all ignored me, and now you want to just take it over like it's nothing? We're not taking it over, Vanessa said, rolling her eyes. We're just staying here. God, you're so overdramatic. That word, dramatic. They'd been calling me dramatic my whole life. When I cried at 12 because they forgot my birthday. When I got upset at 16 because they missed my choir concert. When I asked at 22 if they could help me move into my studio apartment and they said they were busy with Vanessa's baby shower. Dramatic, sensitive, too much. I felt something crack inside me. Get out, I said quietly. Claire, Mom started. Get out. I pulled my phone from my pocket. Or I'm calling the police. Vanessa laughed. Actually laughed. You think anyone will believe you over Mom and Dad? You think they'll care? We're family. They'll just tell you to work it out. Todd shifted uncomfortably. Vanessa, maybe we should... No, she snapped. Claire needs to learn that family takes care of family. I looked at my mother, at my sister, at Todd, who was avoiding my gaze, at the kids, who were already running around my yard like they owned it. And I dialed 911. What are you doing? Mom hissed. Hi, yes, I said into the phone, my voice calm now. I need to report a trespassing. There are people trying to move into my home without my permission. They refuse to leave. Vanessa's face went pale. You're not serious. I'm at 428 Maple Street, I continued. Yes, I'll stay on the line. The movers stopped. One of them, a heavy-set guy with a gray beard, cleared his throat. Ma'am, we're not getting involved in a family dispute. If there's a legal issue, we're out." "Smart move," I said. They started loading the boxes back onto the truck. Vanessa tried to stop them, but the gray-bearded guy shook his head. "Sorry, lady, we don't get paid enough for this." Mom grabbed my arm. "Claire, hang up the phone right now. You're embarrassing yourself. Think about what people will say." I pulled my arm free. "I don't care what people say. This is my house, mine." The police arrived 15 minutes later. 2 officers, one older with graying hair and kind eyes, one younger with a notebook. I explained the situation calmly, showed them my deed, my mortgage paperwork, everything proving the house was mine. The older officer turned to my family. "Ma'am, if she doesn't want you here, you need to leave. This is her property." "But we're family," Mom protested. "She can't just—" "Doesn't matter," the younger officer said, scribbling notes. "She has the right to refuse entry to anyone, even relatives. If you don't leave voluntarily, she can press charges for trespassing." Vanessa was crying now, actual tears streaming down her face. "I can't believe you're doing this, Claire. After everything we've done for you." "What exactly have you done for me?" I asked. She didn't answer. She just stood there, crying, while Todd gathered the kids and led them to their car. Mom looked at me with something I'd never seen before. Not anger, not disappointment, disgust. "You're making a mistake," she said coldly. "You're going to regret this." "Maybe," I said, "but it's my mistake to make." They left. The movers left. The police left. I stood in my empty driveway, alone, and for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. But it wasn't over. The next day, my phone started ringing. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, all of them calling to tell me what a terrible person I was. How could I turn my back on family? How could I be so cruel to my sister and her children? Aunt Linda left a voicemail. "Your poor mother is devastated. Vanessa's children are traumatized. I raised you better than this." "You didn't raise me at all," I thought. But I didn't call back. I blocked every single number. Then the social media posts started. Vanessa posted a long, tearful story about how her heartless sister had kicked her and her innocent children out onto the street. She posted pictures of her kids looking sad, added captions like, "When your own family betrays you," and "Some people value material things over blood." The comments poured in. People I didn't even know were calling me selfish, cruel, a monster. How could she do this to those poor babies? Family should always help family. She's clearly bitter about being single. My hands shook as I read through them. Part of me wanted to defend myself, to explain what really happened, but I knew it wouldn't matter. Vanessa had already shaped the narrative. I didn't respond. I just documented everything. Screenshots, saved posts, recorded voicemails. I had a feeling I'd need them. A week later, I got a call from my supervisor at the clinic, Dr. Martinez. "Claire, I need to talk to you about something. There's been a complaint." My stomach dropped. "What kind of complaint?" "Someone called saying you've been neglecting animals in our care, that you're unfit for your position, that you've been coming to work erratic and emotional." I knew immediately who it was. "That's not true. You can check the records. Every animal I've worked with has received proper care." "I know," she said gently. "I've already reviewed everything. Your work is impeccable, as always. The complaint is baseless. But I wanted you to be aware that someone is trying to sabotage you." "It's my family," I said quietly. There was a pause. "I'm sorry, Claire. That must be incredibly difficult." I thanked her and hung up, my hands trembling. They weren't just angry. They were actively trying to destroy my life, my career, everything. That night, I sat on my porch with a glass of wine, staring at my phone, at Vanessa's posts, at the hateful comments, at the voicemails from relatives I barely knew, and I realized something. I'd spent my entire life trying to earn their love, trying to be good enough, helpful enough, invisible enough not to be a burden. I'd believed that if I just kept trying, kept sacrificing, kept shrinking myself, they'd finally see me. But they never would. Because they didn't want to see me. They wanted to use me. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I made my own social media post. I didn't share private family details. I didn't name names. I just told my story. How I'd worked hard, saved for years, bought my first home. How certain family members expected me to hand it over without question. How when I said no, they tried to ruin my reputation and my career. I wrote, "Setting boundaries doesn't make you selfish, it makes you strong. And if the people in your life can't handle you standing up for yourself, they never loved you in the first place." I hit post and put my phone down, expecting nothing. The post went viral. Within hours, thousands of people had liked it, shared it, commented. Messages flooded my inbox from people telling me I did the right thing, that I was brave, that they wished they had my courage. People shared their own stories of entitled family members, of being the scapegoat, of finally breaking free. And you know what? Someone who knew Vanessa saw the post, put two and two together, shared it in a local community group with the caption, "Pretty sure this is about the Torres family. Anyone else know the real story?" The truth came out faster than I expected. Neighbors who'd seen the moving truck, friends of Todd's who knew they'd been evicted, people who'd watched Vanessa's Instagram perfect life and suspected it was all a facade. Vanessa's perfect image cracked. Her friends started asking questions, the PTA moms, the book club ladies, the yoga class friends. Why would she try to take her sister's house? Why would she lie about being homeless when her husband had a good job? Why would she file a false complaint about Claire's work? The truth came out. Vanessa and Todd weren't between leases. They'd been evicted from their apartment for not paying rent. They'd blown through their savings on a luxury vacation to Europe, designer clothes, private school tuition they couldn't afford. They weren't victims. They were entitled. Vanessa's social circle turned on her. The invitations stopped. The playdate requests dried up. The friendly waves at school pickup turned to cold shoulders. She called me once. Just once. "Are you happy now?" She spat into the phone. "You've ruined my life. The kids are being bullied at school. Todd's partners are asking questions. Mom won't even talk to me, all because you couldn't just help your family." "No," I said calmly. "You did that yourself. I just stopped enabling you." "I hate you," she whispered. "I know," I said. "But I don't hate you. I just don't want you in my life anymore." And I hung up. The calls from my parents slowed, then stopped entirely. I found out later through a cousin, one of the few who reached out privately to tell me she understood that Mom and Dad were embarrassed. Their golden child had fallen from grace, and their invisible daughter had stood up for herself in a way they never expected. They didn't apologize. They never did. But I didn't need them to. I painted my living room a soft sage green, adopted 2 cats from the shelter, a bonded pair named Peanut and Butter. The woman at the shelter, an older lady with kind eyes, told me they'd been returned twice because people thought they were too attached to each other. "Some people don't understand that love isn't a weakness," she said. I took them home that day. I started hosting dinners for my coworkers, the ones who actually cared about me. Jessica brought wine. Miguel brought his famous empanadas. Dr. Martinez brought her teenage daughter, who fell in love with my cats and asked if she could volunteer at the clinic. My house filled with laughter. Real laughter, the kind that comes from people who actually see you. I learned to make sourdough bread, burning 3 loaves before I got it right. Joined a book club at the local library where we mostly drank wine and gossiped but occasionally talked about the books. Started taking yoga classes, not at Vanessa's old studio, but a different one across town where nobody knew my name. I built a life. My life. One evening, about 6 months after everything happened, I was sitting on my porch with a cup of tea, watching the sunset. Peanut was curled up in my lap, purring. Butter was sprawled across my feet. The flowers I'd planted in spring were blooming now, bright bursts of color against the green grass. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Claire, it's Mom. We need to talk. Vanessa is struggling. The kids miss you. Can we work this out?" I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I deleted it. I didn't block the number. I just let it sit there, unanswered. Because I'd learned something important over the past 6 months. For years, I let myself be the forgotten one, the doormat, the easy target. I thought that's what love looked like. Sacrifice, always giving, never receiving. Always being the one who bent, who compromised, who said yes even when I wanted to scream no. But the moment I drew the line, everything changed. Not because they suddenly respected me. They didn't. But because I finally respected myself. I learned that real love doesn't demand you set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Real love doesn't guilt you for having boundaries. Real love doesn't punish you for saying no. And if the people in your life can't handle you standing up for yourself, they never loved you in the first place. They loved what you could do for them. I took a sip of my tea, watching the sky turn from orange to pink to deep purple. Peanuts stretched, yawned, resettled. Butter meowed softly, probably dreaming about the tuna I'd given them for dinner. Somewhere across town, my sister was probably still playing the victim, still blaming me for her problems. My parents were probably still disappointed in me for not playing my role. And you know what? I didn't care anymore. I had my house, my cats, my job, my friends, my peace. I had myself. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.